Okay, we are live. Hey, everybody. We're going to jump right in. We're going to talk about a couple of things, and then we're going to go into the economy, and then everything we're seeing with the gerrymandering, which I was pretty clear about that in my post earlier, that that's what I want to get into. I have been in a dark mood, so forgive me tonight, but this has been something else. Okay, so just like over the past couple of days, I think yesterday was when I heard about it, that the Justice Department was considering settling, which the Justice Department, come on, they had a little sidebar. The Justice Department was considering settling for $10 billion for his IRS leak lawsuit. So that was bad. But then today, ABC broke that he's willing to drop that, and it's going to be a slush fund, basically. So he's willing to drop the IRS lawsuit, and it'll be a slush fund of $1.7 billion weaponization fund for his allies. So what do y'all know about that? What do you think?
I was just pulling up because it said the part of the agreement was that oh yes, here it is. Negotiations involving President White House officials to end audits of the president, his family, and his business risks, violating laws protecting against political interference. And it's supposed to go on like that, like meaning it protects them against future interrogations or audits or whatever.
Future lawsuits, though, or
basically it gives them some sort of, and every lawyer that has weighed in on it that I've seen, because I didn't dip into this. I'm gonna be really honest. There's a lot of other stuff going on, and this was pretty bleak too.
The ABC.
It was like a couple of days ago, and every lawyer that I saw commenting on it was like, I don't even know how this is enforceable. So but that's kind of like everything, right, Adam? That we're looking at.
So let's kind of rewind here for a second, right? So you've got Trump alleging that the IRS, I guess, was responsible for part of his tax returns being leaked. I don't know if he can actually prove that. So he's suing the IRS, and the IRS is defended by the Department of Justice, which he controls, right? So Trump is, in essence, suing himself and directing himself to pay him $1.7 billion, right?
Which should not be a thing.
Should not.
I mean, you have to prove that somebody did malfeasance somewhere that caused harm to you. And frankly, from what I understand, the judge that looked at this or that had this case was significantly questioning, is there even a case here, which I highly doubt that there is. But then you have Trump as president taking our money, the taxpayers. Hey, anybody paying attention, listening to the live stream, your money is going to go into a slush fund for Donald Trump to control and dispense wherever he wants. Enrique Tarrio, come on down. You're going to get some of our taxpayer money from the Trump slush fund, and he's going to control every person who is administering those funds. He gets to appoint them and take them off of this whatever committee he's going to form, and it's all at his sole discretion. And as Casey says, somehow going to try to grant his family immunity for apparently past and future acts. I don't know how you grant people immunity for future acts, but it's, I guess, for the Trump family, it's business as usual. But it's crime time, everybody. He can commit crimes. Eric can commit crimes. Don Jr. can commit crimes. Everybody, hey, it's great. We all get to crime.
It's really too much. But I have a question. So it was a $10 billion settlement in theory, right? So $10 billion settlement. And now he's willing to drop that for a $1.7 billion weaponization. So the 8.3 million that's between those, like, is that just going away, or are we on the hook for that too?
Billion.
Huh?
Yeah.
Billion. So there's 8.3. The difference between 10 and 1.7 is 8.3. What? happened to the 8.3? We're done with that. So this is like a deal, basically. Like we're getting off good.
Yeah, it's like if you have, boil it down to a car accident, right? And you have somebody that gets injured, somebody rear ends somebody else, the person that was rear ended gets hurt, and they sue the other driver, the driver that rear ended them for $10 million,
Yeah.
and they settle for $100,000. It's like the other $9,900,000 didn't exist.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Considering he employs, I mean, basically the IRS and the DOJ are under his thumbnail. So basically, this is at the very least unethical. I mean, which everything he does is unethical, but I just hope this is part of his when we impeach him, which I fully expect when we get the control again, because this. I mean, wouldn't y'all say this is an impeachable thing? Whether we impeach him or not is another thing, but this seems really, shady. All right, well, we'll move
there's not enough paper to list all of the things that are impeachable offenses at this point.
I know somebody's keeping track of these impeachable offenses. We need to have them on this show in 3 years, in 2.5 years, or maybe in 2027. All right. So
wait, I have a quick question before we move on. So this particular blanket immunity, if you will, how provided that it is like at all ever enforceable, in his mind, how far does he feel like this extends? Just real quick, like, is it just to this specific era, like, I mean, or around the IRS related? Like, I don't know, like, how far does he think this extends is what I'm asking.
So are these people are these people committing fraud? Is that what we're doing?
I'm trying to find out, like, what is he, how far does he feel like this extends, or blankets?
Have to sign off on that, doesn't it?
No.
I mean,
no.
Nope. You can, if you, I know.
If it's between parties.
Correct.
Great.
And federal governments, when they are sued, are really very loath to settle cases. They like to take those cases to trial unless there is an absolute clear liability, because they don't like to give away public money.
Yeah, sure.
But I guess, when you're judge, jury, and executioner, and you want to give yourself money, hell, why not? Republicans don't care. Sure, let's give myself you know what? Make it $20 billion. Why not? I mean, how far are we going to go with this? When are the Republicans going to stand up and say, this is just wrong? This is not what the public trust is supposed to be for. Taxpayer money is not supposed to go for this. I mean, they've been doing it for a decade, so I guess, another 3 years is just a drop in the bucket. I don't know.
All right. So in other news, Trump dozed off today in China, which, we don't have a lot of content on this China trip at this point, but if you listen to Trump talk, it's like he thinks Xi Jinping is his best friend. And I am pretty sure that China is going to come out on top here. Like 100%. Trump is not the sharpest, and he is very easily flattered. And China is really good at making, they rolled out the red carpet and the the marching, military stuff, all the things that Trump likes, right? And they're probably giving him wonderful gifts. So he is forgetting everything that he's supposed to be doing right now. Plus, we're at war with Iran. This is not. I just don't see. This is going to be another loss. I'm just predicting. But what do y'all think?
Well, I think the statement on Taiwan was immediately a loss.
Yeah.
Yes. It is almost implied that he's going to walk out of there having somehow given up the idea that we would support Taiwan militarily, like even in selling them arms. Like that That's what he's going to walk out with, and he's not going to know that he did it. That's my biggest fear. Like everything I read was saying the best case scenario is nothing is said about Taiwan. So as soon as
like the first hour,
right, exactly. Within the first 5 minutes, China was able to come out and say what they wanted to about Taiwan, and immediately he's on his heels. And I'm sure he knows nothing about the situation. I'm sure he knows absolutely nothing about the history or anything. He's completely clueless.
Does he know it's a different country? Like, does he think it's like, I'm not kidding.
Well,
like
China, I can tell you, because I've been to Taiwan, I've been to China several times. The Chinese do not consider Taiwan a separate country. They consider it part of China. And if you say it's a separate country, you have a problem.
That's
and just so everybody knows,
that's the problem.
Yeah, I think everyone needs to be clear about Taiwan too. It's not just like, oh, they're a democracy and that's why we support China.
No.
China is the main supplier of chips in the world. So it's, that's the strategic issue there. If Taiwan went away, we'd have a problem. And that means China would control all the chips, basically.
And they immediately threatened, not very veiled, with a military response were we to say that Taiwan was independent, which we've been teetering on this knife's edge for decades, kind of supporting Taiwan with one hand and pretending that they're part of China with the other hand, just waiting for something to blow up. Trump is of course the one that would blow it up.
China, they've been threatening this for a long time. I went to Taiwan the first time, I want to say like at least 15 years ago. And I remember, when you go to a country you've never been before, you're a little like, okay, I wonder what this is going to be like. I immediately got the news. Like, it is a democracy. They don't have the bans on, I wasn't really into social media there, but you can still get news, right? And I don't know what had just happened between China and Taiwan, but China was like, if you say you're independent one more time, we will blow you up. It was like that. And I was like, oh, great. Here I am. So
amazing.
This has been going on for a long time. And the other thing, I do want to make a point about this. When you go to China, anyone who's been, and I've asked other people, and I think they've had the same experience as far as them sleeping. When you go that direction, when you go east, you don't have the same jet lag. It's much worse coming back. So my last trip to China, I think, was 2 weeks, and going there, no problem. If you do it right, you hit the ground running, you work, you don't sleep during the day, you just, switch to that time zone. Coming back, it is a killer. So he shouldn't, this is weird. Like this is something else going on, that he's asleep in the middle of a televised meeting. So I just want to make that point, because from experience, that's not the way it works.
But we know his most productive time is between midnight and 3 a.m. because that's when he truths the most.
Sundowning.
So, not quite sure how that lines up with time there, but.
But it's, it's really kind of funny that we had the contrast between the media constantly picking up the Sleepy Joe theme, and yet we actually have Donald Trump falling asleep in the middle of official functions. I don't remember Joe Biden doing that. I'm not going to tell you that Joe Biden at the end of his term was the sharpest tack in the drawer, but he was not falling asleep on camera in the White House or in important foreign affairs.
There's actually a tracker now, and I'm bummed that I didn't screenshot this and bring it here, but they were looking over the course of years at how many times Biden had fallen asleep versus Donald. And I was like, first of all,
there's a comparison. Is there?
Thank you so much, because this made it seem like, definitely Trump had higher numbers, but the fact that they were like, there's even a chance that this could, I think they were putting the years. So it was like a bar graph with years. and it had like, it's the same. If you have sleep apnea, it's the same damn thing. If you look on your app and it asks you how many occurrences happened at night, it's the same thing. Like, how many incidences did you have? That's what it looked like. So it was like 1, 2002, like 2, and there were a couple for Biden. And I was like, if he fell asleep in something, he nodded off in a situation where it was not inappropriate and or it was wholly understandable because he'd been like maybe doing stuff all day or like whatever. This guy, he gets a full night's sleep and shows up and can't stay awake for a 30-minute meeting. It's not the same thing.
Often. I mean, it happens
all the time. It happens to him.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah, he was
he cannot
in the Oval Office with all the kids around, and he started talking about trans mutilation and stuff. He fell asleep at the end of that. So
I think it's a circulation thing. Anytime he's sitting down and he's not getting like blood flow to like his extremities, like I don't know, like there's something. I'm not a doctor, but I swear to God, there's something, because it's always when he's sitting down. Like as soon as he's sitting down, he's like out. He's conked out.
Casey, I don't think it's just when he's sitting down. It's when other people are talking, and he has to listen to other people.
That's so true.
Not the center of the moment. That's
he can't. You don't have nothing left for that.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I was annoyed that I don't know who it was, because it wasn't like somebody like the Wall Street Journal. I would expect this kind of like, oh yeah, Biden versus Trump. Let's see, from the Wall Street Journal. It was like a news outlet that I was like, are we really doing this? Like, because what do you mean? Biden, it was like once or twice, like in the history of his presidency. So this guy, it's every day.
Like, what did they try and say? Like, what the comparison?
Yeah, it was like I want to say something like 6 times versus 2 or 3, and I was like, ain't no fucking way. Like, no way, no way.
Since April 1st, or since May 1st, like.
And I think that the problem
6 times this week.
Yeah.
So the problem is that every single time the White House says he just was breathing or blinking or whatever their excuse is, I guess this news outlet was like, okay, he didn't fall asleep, And I think that that's the problem, is that everything coming out of this White House is obviously straight lies, and the media is like, okay, if you say so, and that's a problem. Like, that's like the discernment out the window, common sense not here. Like, not a whisper of critical thinking skills from the media. They're just showing up like I honestly more gullible than my 6-year-old. My 6-year-old has better scrutiny skills than the mainstream media, and I'm not kidding. Like, so that's a problem.
All right, so moving on to this nightmare economy. I don't know. I think it really hit me this week more than, because we've been talking about the economy, but this week, I mean, everything feels off. Like, everything feels like crazy. So inflation, we got inflation report. That's terrible. And then I feel like also Republicans are starting to like be a little more honest than they were. They may not be saying they're, leaving them in the dust, but they're like, this is not okay.
And this is good because this is good because what we saw was a 3.8% increase rise in input costs, which means that coming down the line is way worse than what we have right now. The full impact of oil hasn't happened yet. The full impact of fertilizer hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, this
is the beginning.
In California, we just got our last shipment of crude from the Middle East. And I mean, full disclosure, I don't buy gas, but I think we're going to have, that's 30% of California's crude that we refine here. And if that's no longer coming, we're going to probably have a gas shortage because we don't have pipelines to just bring them in from the East or whatever. So then our already expensive gas is going to be crazy. So just California friends, my people.
The irony of this week with China is I kept reading articles about how China is like, all right, whatever, Strait of Hormuz, whatever, because they have a much more diversified electricity grid and power grid. And here we are, Trump's big thing is throwing away solar, wind, any kind of renewable. And here China is, who we for years were like, well, you have the dirty economy, the coal-fired plants and everything, and here they just leapfrogged us in terms
China
of
is definitely beating our ass when it comes to green energy. All right, watch this, guys.
Skyrocketing prices at the pump to all-time highs for beef. Families are feeling the pain from the biggest jump in the cost of living in 3 years. The U.S. government says prices in April jumped 3.8% compared to last year. Energy prices in the wake of the Iran war fueling the surge. Gas up 28.4% year over year. The national average for regular now $4.49 a gallon. For diesel, $5.63 a gallon.
To fill that fuel tank right there on this Kenworth, it would cost, that's 100 gallons, so it'd cost me about $710.
Trucker Kyle Cameron says before the war broke out, that same fill-up would have cost him about $465.
Diesel prices impact shipping all across the country, and that's one of the reasons that grocery prices jumped such a large rate month over month.
Beef at an all-time high, up 14.9%. Ground beef now more than $7 a pound. Tomatoes up 50%. Coffee up nearly 30%. Our Alex Perez met Chicago shoppers feeling the pain.
I could buy milk for $1.99 3 weeks ago, $2.29 now.
Airline fares are up more than 20%. By one estimate, the American household is spending $642 more per month for the same stuff as they did 3 years ago. And for the first time in 3 years, wages aren't rising faster than inflation.
Inflation at 3.8%, wage gains at 3.6% in the past year. And that's why people are really feeling pinched and that they have to stretch every dollar.
President Trump rejecting the idea that the pain Americans are feeling from inflation will influence his negotiations with Iran.
The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody.
A new poll shows that 75% of Americans say the war with Iran has had a negative effect on their financial situation. But it's not just energy-related categories. Housing costs, those prices are up 3.3% from a year ago.
So just real quick,
Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all. That's the only thing that motivates.
Did you say earlier that the only thing that matters to you when it comes to Iran is a nuclear weapon? You're not considering the financial impact of this war on Americans?
The most important thing by far, including whether our stock market, which by the way is at an all-time high, but including whether or not our stock market goes up or down a little bit, the most important thing by far is Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
What about the pressure on Americans and prices right now?
We talked about this last week, that really there is no difference in Iran's nuclear capabilities. It's the same now as it was before. So that's kind of like a ridiculous point. But the fact that he doesn't care is like truth telling. You know, that's the one time he's being honest. You know?
Did you happen to see Obama on Colbert?
I did not, no.
So he was talking about this and saying basically like the only reason he blew up the agreement was because Obama did it.
Yeah,
and here we are trying to get back to the agreement that Obama had negotiated, and we're never going to get there. And
Never.
As I said before, the only thing this has taught the world is the only way to keep the United States from attacking you is to have a nuclear weapon. So if anybody had thoughts of developing one, this is reinforcing the idea that you have to, or else the United States may just invade you.
Also, it's taught the world that we are vulnerable in certain areas. Like we were thought of as being like the superpower, which, you know, you could still make the argument, of course, but like Iran with their drones, inexpensive drones versus ours, both versus our rockets, we're not able to replenish them fast enough. So we're just spending, like, you know, the whole talk has been like, we're underestimating the cost, which I think we all agree, you know, like this war is costing a lot more than what they're admitting. But the fact that Iran is doing it on a much cheaper scale and they can keep it coming. And on top of it, they control the strait, which they did not before. And they're able to actually charge for ships to go through there. So they've sustained losses for sure. They've had a lot of loss of life. And they're not completely, it's not like they're not vulnerable, but they are in a strategically better position than they were before Trump did this bullshit.
Because it's almost impossible for us to win. That's the thing. They win by just holding out and just sitting back and letting us waste lots of money and let the gas prices go sky high and see what that does to the political climate here in the United States. And every other day, his buddies are making bank with all of this corruption by betting, in the stock market, in the predictions market,
Right.
and making millions and millions, hundreds of millions, maybe even billions of dollars. And everybody says, taco, Trump always chickens out. Is that what it is? Or is it just another grift? Is it just more?
I think it's all tied to that.
I was going to say, I think it's everything. I think it's situational, but I think 100% all of those things are happening. And the lack of diplomacy, the lack of negotiation, the lack of leadership is such a glaring liability for this country. And I think that, in terms of foreign policy, the weakest we've ever been. And, this vulnerability it's like a gaping wound that just is getting infected and exposed. And the longer that we go, the more exposed we are. And it's concerning because, there's no one in the Republican Party right now, really, that's speaking on it, like in Congress or otherwise, in a way that's, impactful enough to push back. This really should be of all things, should be a bipartisan issue, right? Like there's not many things right now where I'm like, we need to come together. But this is like the one thing where everybody sort of needs to step back and be like, like for the preservation of us, like literally, I need you all to like jump on board with the fact that this is a real problem. And that to me, it's you don't have to have much experience in matters of foreign policy or leadership or anything to step back and be like, this is a problem. So that's how blaring it is, how significant.
Yeah. Meanwhile, counterbalance the grift or the multiple grifts with the fact that Americans can't afford food.
Yeah.
They can't afford gas. They can't afford shelter. They can't buy health insurance. And hospitals are going broke. So even if they had health insurance, they couldn't get health care, especially in rural areas.
Yeah.
It's just mind-boggling how people can still support this.
That you can't, how can you keep blaming Biden? Like, how long do you really think that party can blame a government that has nothing to do with this?
Like the Trump supporters are like, come on.
Right? Like even they
may not
like,
admit it, they should.
But okay, take it a step farther and say, okay, let's just say it was. Guess what? This administration needs to fix that. Fix it. What are you doing to fix it? And then there's no response. It's sorry, not sorry. Like deal with it because I have an agenda and I got to get my friends rich. Like, and also we need a reflecting pond that has some ugly ass blue like paint on it, like that we're going to have to pay a bunch more for, right? Like it's not even just that he's trying to make Iran a priority. That he's made everything but our survival a priority. And that is like, we're not talking about thriving. We're like Adam was saying, we're talking about people who can't get basic growth, like having to decide between paying the rent and buying groceries. Like that's unfathomable.
Also, with Trump, I was never going to be a Trump voter, never, ever, ever. So let me make that clear. But I think
really,
I hope people have learned by now, you can't just listen to the good stuff. You can't just listen to what you want to hear from these fucking politicians. Give me I want plans. I want the plan to be viable. And then I'll believe you. Like we have a certain someone running in California for governor who's just saying wonderful, everything's going to be great. And he's a Democrat, but he's making those same kind of promises that Democrats are going to want to hear with no experience, no background, no real plan that makes these things even legal or sound plausible. So I'm just like, no, you're not getting my vote. I'm sorry. And then we have this Yahoo running for mayor who his house burned down and he didn't have insurance, and he's living in the Beverly Hills Hotel because everybody convinced he's living in a trailer. So
he's using Donald Trump's plan too from 2016. Like he's literally regurgitating the same campaign. I can't.
So,
but you know, if they were asking Democrats the same, like if Democrats were in the same position, the like hold on, just wait would could never. They would never extend. And Republicans need to be honest about this because I'm ready to just roll with someone at this point.
Whoa. Casey, I'm sorry. Republicans need to what now?
Okay, not politicians, because I know that's never going to happen. But like the people who can't pay their bills right now need to be so for real, because you know that you would not just let Democrats exist on credit. You would insist that there be some sort of a response, that there's no trust me, bro. Like we can't even give you actual facts. Like when we give you facts, you don't
trust me, bro. Like I need more than that.
We can give them solid analysis and they're not satisfied. They don't care about reality at this point. So this is insulting me. Like I can't. Villainy, I've complained about. Villainy I know exists. Okay. But the flagrance of this Republican Party is what sent me into
I was knocking
tailspin.
on doors today before I came here earlier this evening. I was knocking on neighbors' doors for our congressional candidate in CA 40. And one of the people whose doors I knocked on was literally crying because gas prices were so high.
Yeah.
And it's like, how am I going to decide between gas prices and food?
Yeah.
It's really unbelievable.
People are not filling up their tanks.
Let me tell you, I said this in the meeting the other day and they were shocked. And I said, look, I'm in Northern Virginia. So I always have to, like, at my Costco, forget it. I'm always going to wait in line. I never, ever get to just pull straight up to the pump. That never happens. It doesn't matter when I go. Everything is crowded here. Even the other stations, like, it's rare that you would pull up and every pump wouldn't be taken, or most pumps wouldn't be taken, or you would just get in like after someone left. It's ghost town. Like when I tell you ghost town, I'll pull up, no one is around, and I'm like the roads are clearer. Like I'm not being hyperbolic. It's great for me because there's not traffic. I'm not gonna lie, that part's great. Like I'm able to get places faster. But I was just talking to a dance mom last night, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, why did we not hit any traffic whatsoever? And she's like, I think people are not driving. And I was like, I 100% think you're right. The people who have the option to be remote or have any way, shape, or form the ability to stay home and not use gas at this point, they are. So that to me is that should concern everybody, because that's not like let me see if I can save the environment and stay home. This is like, I can't feed my family, so I can't drive to work today. And that's the problem.
Like I'm going to run all my errands on Saturday. I'm no more back and forth. Like no, you definitely plan different.
Yeah.
Well, how about this though? To Melena's point, deciding between gas and food. Guess what? If this keeps happening, diesel prices keep going up. That means food prices are going to keep going
100%.
up. And you won't be able to afford either gas or food.
Food, building supplies, dry good, like all of that this is just the beginning of the inflation. Like really, we're much closer to the beginning than the end. Okay, watch
that's
this.
The problem.
This really got me, and I'm gonna tell you why. But speaking of like, don't believe people.
Gave up for a house, and now at this point we've settled on renting again because it's so hard.
So you guys were hoping to buy a house?
Yeah.
And you've given up on that for now?
Yeah, for now.
How does that make you feel as as a mom?
Very sad not being able to give my kids a home to live in and grow in. Bouncing around from place to place.
And who do you think do you think someone is to blame for that situation?
Definitely the political higher-ups.
That was Mary Garcia. She is a Trump voter from Nevada, and she stood and spoke to our David Noriega to explain that she gave Trump a chance because she believed him when he said he would make life more affordable. That is why she votes, she says, to put people in power to make her life better. But she says her life has not gotten better. She's living with her in-laws, as you heard, after months of looking for a house that they could afford to buy. Now, with that dream off the table, they're trying to find a place that they can rent within their budget. But even that is getting tough.
So I'm not FAFO on this, but I don't feel sorry for her for 1 minute, because I immediately thought, why didn't you listen to Kamala Harris with her $25,000 grant for first-time home buyers? But she chose the man that, was talking about they're poisoning the blood of our nation. So, it's not even FAFO. This woman is really sad. We can feel that. Before this little clip, her and her husband are having problems even finding a place to rent. So they're living with parents. But it's like, one thing I did not hear from her, she said political higher ups. What the fuck is that? His name is Donald Trump. So I have no patience for this shit.
The thing is, though, is that there's so many people that just don't pay attention. They're working, they got kids, they don't watch the news. Most people don't even have network TV anymore. So where are they getting their news from? Friends and family, or maybe social media. And the social media is like geared and programmed to give us the most extreme stuff. And Republicans, they spend more on social media, and they own all of the social media, from Facebook to X to Instagram, all of that. So it's understandable how someone didn't know. I bet you she never heard that plan from Kamala Harris. I can almost guarantee you she didn't. So yeah, I do feel a little bit bad for people like that were fooled, but maybe their eyes will open now. And when your eyes are opened, welcome to the party. Trump is to blame. Trump is a lunatic. Please come and join the Democratic Party, who are going to fight for you.
But I understand that people may not be paying attention, right? Because, frankly, not everybody is as lunatics about politics as we are. But if you've come to the realization that I can't afford to buy a house, I can't even afford to rent an apartment, and the problem is the politicians, it ain't a far leap to maybe like a little baby step to who's the guy in charge now, right? Just people don't want to admit when they screwed up. They don't want to admit that they voted for a guy who really is, a monster who has basically destroyed your life.
They don't want to admit they're racist. That's what it is. So not sorry to tell you. I'll say it straight to your freaking face at this point, because my life is harder because of all of you. I could be baking sourdough. I could be enjoying the life of a stay-at-home mom, but instead I gotta do all this extra stuff and learn all this extra stuff and get 4 hours of sleep a night because this guy's up at all hours of the night going to war and tweeting shit. Listen, you knew who he was. You knew who he was. Unless you have been under a rock, sedated for the last 10 years, you know who this man is. You know what he stands for. And look, fine. I won't maybe yell at you when you first join up. But as soon as we get a Democrat in, I'm taking you all to task. Like, we're all going to sit down and have this conversation. You can have it now or you can have it in 4 years, but I'm going to be having conversations with people, because we are not going to do this thing where you pretend to be precious and you don't know what's going on. Like, y'all are adults. If you can get up in the morning and go to the polls and vote, you need to be able to recognize this grifter in chief. Like, there's just, no.
Casey, I showed some clips to my class of politics, and my students were shocked. They had never seen it before. They really hadn't. So, I mean, we're
never seen what?
Politics. I showed them clips. Of Donald Trump saying they're animals, they're not human, and they were shocked. They hadn't seen that. They never saw that. They didn't know that. My students are all immigrants. They never knew that. They never saw that. And I really don't personally think that they didn't have a lot of time, but I didn't think that the Harris campaign made that something that they were pushing out, which I think I thought that they should have, because we're seeing now a huge shift in the Hispanic community right now away from the Republican Party, and we're seeing it in elections all across the country. So there are people that are waking up.
There are people, but there are a lot more people that just didn't believe it would affect them, and that's
they made
what
a choice on who to believe. They made a choice.
100%. And the facts were there, like, to show them otherwise. They're like, you know what? That's fine as long as I'm not, like, you can hurt. I don't mind if someone else hurts as long as I'm safe, and they'll protect me. They won't protect you. That's cool. So these people all decided, various forms of racism and misogyny were acceptable as long as they were against other people. And that is the bulk of them, not all, but the bulk of them. If they were honest, like Adam said, if they were really being honest with themselves, they got it wrong. And it would be super great if all the adults could get together and just be honest about that and say, like, look, let's just move forward. But I'm not going to police how a lot of these marginalized communities who are deeply impacted by this, how they have to move forward with you, because quite frankly, I can understand why they don't want to forgive these people. Like, look what people are dying. People are, like, actively dying every day because of this administration.
And let's be honest. Go ahead, Adam. Sorry.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that. Earlier this week, I was talking with the guy that I work with, and I said to him, "Listen, whatever you want to do, we provide all the examples." And I said, "Trump is a Nazi. Trump is a fascist." I said, "You're just saying that. You're a liberal." He said, No. It's not me. It's guys who work for him that said that. Jim Mattis, his chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, called him a Nazi. John Kennedy, the guy who was his chief of staff, called him a fascist. It's not
his VP.
His own guys, right?
When I was calling,
he called him a Nazi. Or Hitler. I'm sorry. My apologies. Hitler. He called him.
When I was calling voters during the last election in Spanish, and I was telling them they're like, no, they're just gonna round up the criminals. He's just gonna round up the criminals. And I said, please.
I wish people were more curious. And I feel like that is the problem with voters. And I think it's the majority of voters, actually. When Trump was saying, what was it? He said he was going to round up and deport 8 million. What was the number? 8 million immigrants?
First he said 11. Then he actually went up to 25 million.
So
only 11
do you think maybe you could Google how many undocumented immigrants there are, for starters, and then maybe just think, how feasible is this? Then when he's been talking all these years about, like, securing the border, think about these millions of immigrants. They're on the interior. This was always something we could predict, that they were going to do what they're doing, going to cities. If they're going to try and do this millions of immigrant things, it was never going to be on the border. There just aren't that many immigrants on the border. It was going to be on the interior. So I don't know, like, connect the dots. And I don't think enough people do that. They believe easy. Just like you're saying, Melina, they wanted him to go after the criminals. He's not going to go after me. He's going to go after the criminals. But all the other language that he said didn't sound like that to me. It sounded like he's going to go after brown people, like that.
Yeah.
From South
well,
Dakota.
even though, like, they're stealing all of our, like, the quickest of Google searches could show you, like, the federal government wasn't paying for undocumented immigrants to get Medicaid. Like, you could see that. And they wanted to believe the other one, because it's, like, way sexier to believe that there's a group of people that are, like, the reason that your life sucks, instead of your bad choices, which, by the way, your pick this man for president just proves that you've made a consistent slew of them. So, I mean, like, you've just affirmed the fact that you don't have great decision-making skills. Anyway, I just think that that's what it was, is it's a lot. Like, it's just like when we're teaching government, it's hard to make a lot of government interesting. Like, if you've never taken a legislative and politics class, let me tell you, you sit down and study congressional procedure, it's not fun, but it's necessary, and you need to understand it. When you're trying to explain this to, like, the kids don't want to learn about, they want to learn about the fun stuff, like the rumors and the affairs and the, like, all of that, the tawdry stuff. They like that. They want an enemy. And it's not like, they don't want to believe that it's their political party or their person that's causing it. And he, as an outsider, that's the one thing that's weird about this to me. In 2016, it was very obvious to me why he was, like, picked, right? Like, he's a man, he's an outsider, so that was an easy, like, scapegoat, like everybody else, like, I'm new and different, trust me, I have this background in finance. Now, if you knew anything about it, you knew that there was a lot of bankruptcy and a lot of not paying his people. But like the average person remembers, oh, he has a gold toilet. Like, it's like they remembered the layouts in People magazine and stuff, right? Okay, because that's salacious and that's interesting. But after that, after he was in office, now you're not an outsider. Now you're one of the people. So now you've run 2 campaigns and you're coming into 2024. How in the world was he still, and today, still being framed as like not a part of the problem, the elite people that are like giving their, like scratching the backs of their billionaire besties? How is he still evading that kind of criticism, which has followed pretty much every politician if you look across bipartisan lines, it's attached to everybody, like Republicans and Democrats, because people want to hate politicians. And that's just like a natural inclination. And he gets it from the Democrats, but where is it from the conservative? Like, I don't see what I would normally see in terms of outrage from people. And it's just odd to me that he seems to somehow just always magically evade that.
Well, we've been talking about
rising from the ashes of a nuclear fallout facility. Sorry, go on.
We've been talking about how dismal the economy is, and he falls asleep once in a while, right? But there isn't a day that goes by, more than once even, where he talks about his fucking vanity projects. And it's really like, let them eat cake. It's like he's throwing it in our face. And so watch this. This happened, I'm losing track of my days, I'm going to be honest, but I feel like this was Monday. He had one of his little patio parties, Rose patio parties.
Moments ago, Donald Trump relaunched his Rose Garden Club. This is a very serious sentence. This is where he pretends the White House is one of his hotel properties. The president spent several minutes ranting and rambling to his guests all about his vanity projects. Take a listen.
This used to be grass, and took a little heat from my wife. She said, darling, what did you do with my grass? I said, people got tired of standing in mud. We're going to get a gorgeous stone, which we did, and we're going to put this up here. I don't know if you got this here. It's just completed with the granite, the black granite. We'll be opening up the reflective pond. It's called the reflective pond. It's going to be beautiful, beautiful color. I picked American flag. See the blue? I picked American flag. It was called American Flag Blue. We're building a ballroom in the back, which will be, I think, the most beautiful ballroom anywhere in the world. You'll never see anything like it.
The biggest lie in that speech, by the way, was that his wife said to him, darling. But anyway.
That's no way in hell that color is American blue. See, he lies about everything. There is not anything that comes out of his mouth that is true. That everything out of that mouth was a lie. Like, everything. By the way, there's a really good post from, if you're interested in looking at the outdoor area, the BuzzFeed. Yeah, BuzzFeed has a funny spread of the Rose Garden and all the tweets of people roasting it, and it's got pictures comparing Mar-a-Lago to it, and it's literally the same chairs. It's like it's the exact. He has taken I don't think you can see it, but it's like, the yellow stripy, like whatever, like thing. It's those white chairs that are exactly the same. Anyway, you can go to BuzzFeed and see that. But I thought that was an interesting like overlay, because I knew it was similar, but I hadn't seen them back to back. That's crazy.
So we've talked about this pool before, which this was totally predictable. This blue color that he's talking about, if it ever gets to this point, is not going to be blue. It's going to be green. And because there's just no way. But anyway, anybody with common sense knows that you cannot paint. I'm just going to say this. The cheapest way to have done this without these patchwork problems, when you're like, have you ever painted and you're like, oops, I better finish, and you have an overlay like that? They should have done white, because it reflects blue. Like if you wanted blue, it reflects blue. When you have a pool, like the very basic version of a pool is a plaster finish. It's white when the water's not in it. Once the water is in it, it's an aqua because it reflects the sky. Then you can get into colors, finishes, and it makes it a little more blue. Usually those colors do not look so blue when they're dry. And so this is just such a amateur mistake. And then they're finding there's like the Interior Department is finding that there's tiny bubbles. They're finding that it's uneven. There's holes.
And what have people out there, because y'all understand that this is tourist season. Like, they didn't pick a time to do this when there's less people, because there are periods of time where there's less people. But let me tell you when it's not. It's not in the spring. It's not, and that's when everybody comes for the Cherry Blossom Festival. That's when everybody brings their kids in school trips. And that's when everybody comes to take their spring break trips. Everybody that's going to come to DC is typically coming in this era before it gets hot. You know, like it starts to get real hot in June, July. So everybody's coming. And what are they, not only are they breathing in whatever the hell they're spraying down there, because that's can't be good. But also on top of that, they want to get their picture with the pond. And it's been like this for how long? They can't even knock it out and be done with it.
So do we know when they're supposed to be finished with this?
It was supposed to be May 22nd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, fat chance. And it went from 1.3 million, I think, to 13 million. I'm sure that's not the end of it. Like, just like the ballroom.
And how does this improve Americans' lives?
None.
When you
not
look
at
at the
all.
ballroom,
And we're paying for it.
We're paying for this. This is from our taxpayer dollars. And with everything else that's going on, and with him freezing Medicaid payments to California, and all of these things that he is wasting money on, and this war that's costing billions and billions of dollars and will probably end up costing $1 trillion, while Americans are paying it through the roof for everyday costs. You go,
and no one asked for this.
No one asked for
like
this.
no one asked for this. Like, I just want to stress, I live here. I promise, nobody said this is necessary. Nobody said this has to be done right now. Nobody said we had to spend money this way on it. Nobody said that. He's just like, I want to do this. And it's like the Kennedy Center that we talked about last week that already had a name on it. Like, he's taking stuff that's already been done and it's superfluous. He's like, let me just pay for this. Everything costs money. And by the way, I don't know how much transparency we're getting on who's doing what with these, like, who's bidding, are there RFPs, like, what's happening? I don't think
contract. It's
So
Susan says it was his pool guy.
So
I think we should, and he did say that. So listen to this.
I would not deny it. Yes.
Listen to this.
Like you repeatedly say.
Swimming pools up the road. We have a club. We have an Olympic-sized swimming pool. He did it 20 years ago, and it's perfect to this day. So I asked him. I said, I have an idea. I'm going to send my contractor over and take a look. He looked at it. He called me up. He said, "So we can do something on it." He said, "It's perfect, actually."
Staffers at the Interior Department have noticed bubbles, small holes, and uneven layers of the tinted waterproof coating, leaving the pool various shades of blue. Oh, and the price tag that Trump touted has skyrocketed from 1.8 to more than $13 million. In a now deleted social media post, Trump writes, "I didn't give out the contract. Interior did, to a contractor I did not know and have never used before."
I think it's complete and utter embarrassment. It's meant for reflection. There's probably not going to be a lot of reflection for a man who doesn't reflect on himself.
I mean, why are we spending money on changing the color of the pool when we're currently at war with Iran?
Well, a nonprofit has filed a lawsuit arguing the renovation would be more appropriate for a resort or a theme park.
And did you hear him say it was his contractor? But then he literally said, "I don't know him." The Interior Department picked him. So he just lies so easily. It's crazy.
Everything out of his mouth. But you know, every so often he throws in a truth because he can't keep his mouth shut. So if you pay attention and clock it, he'll tell you what he's going to do. Like, you just have to pick it from the lies.
And for someone that says that he's this real estate developer, he doesn't know basic things about construction or maintenance.
Very true. I think he would be better off, though, as one of those scammy contractors than a person.
Here's the fact about the Trump real estate developer that those of us in New York know all too well. At one point, maybe he was, but now he's a guy that lends his name to the projects that other people build.
Yes.
And that's how he gets a piece, and that's how they advertise it now. Once a lifetime ago, his name had a lot more cachet to it. Now they actually remove his name from things. I actually get a lot of enjoyment when I drive across the Whitestone Bridge, which connects the Bronx and Queens. And there's a golf course that's literally right next to the golf course, or the bridge, that was Trump Links. And about 2 years ago, they took the name, maybe longer, they took the name off the golf course and they called it Bally Links instead. So little moment of zen.
He is, to me, he is like, we see this all the time, celebrities, specifically Nepo babies, that are looking for something to do because they're bored, or their parents want them to have a real job. And so they're like, let me just start, like, I don't know, a cosmetics line, or like, let me just make some perfume. And then they act like they're doing so much. And you can see in the interview that they have no clue what they're doing, but they're in the interview acting like they're a part of the everyday business stuff. And that is what he's doing. He's cosplaying as someone who actually knows what they're doing, that's actually a developer, because he was a Nepo baby and had some money and got in the industry. And now his ego's bruised because he screwed up enough that everybody knows it. And he keeps trying to like remake a name for himself. But he's just like those celebrities that are trying desperately to have an identity in something, and they just don't, because they don't know what they're doing. Like, Kim Kardashian taking the bar after not going to law school, like, and using ChatGPT to study for it. That's exactly, it's like, let me take all the shortcuts and it's fine because I'm rich and I'm allowed to do that.
Did you guys see this road? Okay, so Sean Duffy is our transportation secretary. Did you guys see this road trip reality show that they're planning?
Yes.
And
they
Education Secretary Sean Duffy going back to his reality TV roots.
Put your seatbelts on.
But this time it's not the real world, the hit 90s show, but a new 5-part docuseries premiering on YouTube in June, with Duffy and his family cruising across the country over the last 7 months as part of the nation's America 250 celebrations.
So we're inviting you along with our family on the Great American Road Trip.
But this road trip is facing backlash.
Welcome to Montana.
At a time when many Americans are struggling with high prices at the pump.
It fits any budget to do a road trip.
Former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg calling the show brutally out of touch. Duffy did conduct official government business paid for by taxpayers in some of the same locations where filming took place. But he's pushing back on critics, arguing production happened in short windows, such as weekends and the kids' spring break. He said 0 tax dollars were spent on his family. The show's nonprofit production company, Great American Road Trip, Inc., lists 17 sponsors on its website, including Boeing and United Airlines, which are companies regulated by the Department of Transportation. NBC's parent company, Comcast, is also a sponsor. Amid questions about a possible conflict of interest, a DOT spokesperson tells NBC News the production company is an independent organization, and how and who they accept donations from is their decision.
What a beautiful family. Kiss under the President Trump.
Speaking of grift, I mean, there's no way they're not making money on that. And that production company was formed for this project. It wasn't an existing. It's his production company.
Did you see the interview right after this came out on, I think it was Fox and Friends, with he and his wife, where she said that they were living in a Pornhub world?
No.
Did you guys know? Talking about this trip, and I'm like, your children were on this trip with you, and Pornhub is your reference?
Wow.
Like, oh my goodness.
Your 9 children.
I mean, they don't believe in birth control. That is clear.
This is the griftiest every single person attached to this administration is grift, and they've got to be in a back room laughing at us. And I would say that if I thought that they had any sort of self-reflection or critical thinking skills, but I actually think a lot of them don't even know it. This is so wild to me that they're like, yeah, let's just have a reunion show. Like, what? Why are we pulling anybody that's running this country from MTV or ESPN? Why are these people coming from places they don't belong in? It's not making things better, clearly. And we learned that the first time. We didn't need to do it 2 and 3 times. Why? I mean, this is mad. This is not discussed enough. This is not, because it's like, oh, it's Secretary of Transportation. Who cares? Like, it's not talked enough. You should be outraged. Every single segment that we run should create outrage.
That is such an excellent point. There is not nearly enough focus on the corruption, because when you think of how much corruption there is, it's so sort of overwhelming. And I feel like we should be like, putting this out to the entire internet to say, okay, let's talk about all of the corruption, because there's so much. One person trying to handle all the corruption, it would just be too much. But everybody needs to be talking about this corruption, because first of all, Americans do not like corruption. I mean, say what you will about Americans, they do not like corruption. And second of all, there's a lot of people that have no idea just how pervasive it is. And it's something that I think that if more people knew about, his numbers from, I think you had posted, that was a great post up there, Chris, 70%, his unfavorability numbers would probably be more like 90% or 99% where it should be, because it's just in every single area. When you think we've lost alliances, he's pulling our military out of countries like Spain and Germany. I mean, this is unbelievable.
People don't know that it's a problem, Milena, because the civics education in this country is so terrible. And I was like, this is what happens when you back burner and relinquish social studies to a summer school class, because the Republicans know it. And they know that because people are not interested in it. They're not engrossed in it long enough. We don't have time to cover curriculum in depth. So they really just think that the Nazis showed up on people's door one day. That's what they think authoritarian fascism is. They don't understand that it's a slow burn. They don't understand the chipping away of rights. They don't understand the taking away of marginalized groups until they eventually get to you. And even though they've seen the poem, even though they've all maybe read the poem at this point, they can't, in their minds, I think that they go back to Hitler and they think, oh yeah, he just stormed Europe one day. Like, I really don't think they understand how it broke out. And this is the thing. They don't know how our government's structured. They don't understand what traditionally things are supposed to look like. What is procedure? What is protocol? I mean, I don't even know all of that. Like, and I went to school for this, right? Like, I don't know all of it, but they have like such a lack of depth of knowledge and understanding fundamentally that they can't even question what is or isn't right. And so a lot of it just sort of, I mean, I think his character's enough, right? Like, that seems like that should be enough. But like, if you just separate out the character and you're just looking at the behaviors of this, people just, I don't think they know. And I think this is why we keep seeing the push to move voucher programs in and defund education and the Department of Education, because the less you know, the more Republicans can do. It's true.
Well, all right.
Schoolhouse Rock. Yeah, we do need a reboot of Schoolhouse Rock. That's true. Please don't make me do that. It's.
Yeah,
I mean, it just seems like a lot.
All right, so one last thing.
I am a bill
sitting
here on Capitol Hill.
Do it.
So please enjoy this video of Trump's scammy cell phone.
Today we're here to introduce Trump Mobile. Making phones in America. It's about time we bring products back to our great country.
We're going to be having call centers for Trump Mobile in St. Louis, so we're keeping our data onshore.
We plan to build phones in America. All of our customer support is in America. A lot of people are getting ripped off, to say the least, because they don't pay attention to their cell phone plans. So I think we can do it better.
Hey, Trump supporter here. This goes out to Don Jr. and Eric. Where the is my phones? I ordered 4 gold Trump phones in the summer. Now we can't get any updates on them.
Well over 500,000 people each paid a $100 deposit to get in on the planned and promised Trump phone. Not a single confirmed customer, though, has gotten one. This is a report from the IBT. Meanwhile, the website for the so-called Trump Mobile, which isn't very mobile, includes a disclaimer. A pre-order doesn't guarantee a device will be produced or made available for purchase. I mean, that is just out there. A pre-order means not a pre-order. We just hold your $100 and we might never make the phone. They haven't shipped any phones. The company's selling point was that this somewhat gilded device would be made in America. You heard that in some of those clips. Now they say it will be proudly American. I guess that's kind of how the phone identifies. It will be designed with American values in mind, but that's not how country of origin labeling works. If you're going to make something here or have it abroad, the mother of all tariffs president ought to know that. The phone reportedly now predominantly made in China. But again, that's if it's made. So far, the company now says, don't assume if you buy one or part of one that it'll ever be produced. So we don't know if it's ever going to be made or where.
I mean, isn't that fraud, Adam? That sounds like fraud to me.
Yeah. You would have thought that people might have learned from Trump steaks, Trump vodka, Trump water, Trump University. I mean,
airlines.
Trump airline, on and on and on.
Sometimes I yearn for the asteroid, and I said that in my call, and I meant it yesterday when I said it. I sometimes think about that, and I'm like, we would be better off if it just came and wiped this mess off the face of the planet. Because
when the zombies come, I will be grateful.
I'm going first.
Okay, so did you notice that phone looked like a T-Mobile phone? It did to me. It looked like a T-Mobile brand, T for T-Mobile, and supposedly it is an older generation T-Mobile phone that they are planning to ship, and it's through T-Mobile. So that's nuts. And then this freaking notice these people got: deposit purpose. A pre-order deposit provides only a conditional opportunity if Trump Mobile later elects in its sole discretion to offer the device for sale. So basically, you're giving them some cash, and maybe you'll get something, maybe you won't, and they get to hold your cash. Now, I thought there was a law that they also have to pay you back with interest if they're holding your money for a deposit.
Yeah. But wait, this is yeah, that's a good, valid, so valid, Chris. Well, wait a minute. These are the people that weren't these the people that were putting out AI images of the phones? Like they were faking that they got that, like their influencers or whatever were putting out, and then it was proven that they were actually fake images. Isn't that this phone that they were doing that with like 6 months ago or something? Because it had been so long.
Everything.
Yes, but I was specifically remembering it with this because we were like, "Oh man, you still don't have your gold phone? Bummer, man." Like I feel like that was all over Twitter, and we were having the best time with it. Like time flies when you're in fascism and hating your life. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, Mark Hamill would be great at that. Somebody said Mark Hamill does animation voices for the Schoolhouse Rock reboot.
But we really do need to focus on corruption more, because the American people don't know that the Trump boys have got investments in companies that have military contracts. They had such a problem with Hunter Biden and his relationship with, China and Ukraine and everything like that. But the grift coming out of this administration is insanity.
Do you think that's it, Melena? Do you think that that's what's gonna? Because I just feel like I said this the other day. Like I don't know what to do, because this is a whole group of people that were like, I guess they can be child rapist apologists. That's fine. I was like, how do I explain racial gerrymandering and make people care about something when they don't care about child pedophile? Like, I don't know what else to do. So I wonder what the tipping point really is. I feel like outside of money, and being able to pay for stuff, which even that, as we've seen from farmers, isn't like a non-negotiable. Like they'll just kind of write it off and be like, he's got a plan. And even if they don't know what that is, I'm trying to figure out what is it like an ego thing, and we do what we said at the beginning, because one of the things we talked about initially was really pushing and hitting home the fact that his leadership it's embarrassing, and that he looks really weak to the rest of the world, and how that weakness is such a problem for the MAGA people and even the moderates and whatever. Is it that, or is it the money? And we hit home you're having to pay this, because I mean we did see some movement on the immigration issue. They didn't like watching children be in detention centers. People don't love that. They don't super love that, separating a child with stage 4 cancer from his parents, who then sees them for a day before he dies. People don't love that.
Brutal story.
It was awful. And I cried for days thinking about it. Like and a lot of people did not like that. So I'm saying there are things that have moved a little bit, like not as much as I would think you should, but a little bit. But in total, I'm trying to figure out really what is there, like one thing, and I don't think it exists. It might just be a culmination of everything, which is hard.
One thing. I think it is a culmination of everything.
I mean, we're not there yet.
No.
I mean,
unfortunately,
I'm ready for pitchforks and torches.
Right.
I mean, unfortunately, there are people, it just doesn't penetrate. It's going to take a lot to penetrate. And like doing things like making sure people, like when you're at the grocery store and saying like these prices, effing Trump, you know, saying stuff like that and saying you blame Trump. Maybe they don't yet, but they're going to be like, oh, like there are people blaming Trump for this. And eventually these things permeate through the culture.
Peer pressure
about it. Peer pressure, right? Putting those little I did that stickers on gas pumps, which may or may not be vandalism. I'm not saying to do that, but when you see it, I mean,
this is not legal advice.
Not legal advice. But, you know, when you talk about the fact that he's in the Epstein files 38,000 times, when you talk about the citizen who had stage 4 cancer, it was like a 4-year-old that was deported, and the kid that was on the verge of death that they just dumped on the border because they didn't want the baby to die in custody here. When you talk about that, it does move people because, you know, people, maybe they're team Trump because they're team Republican and that's what their friends and family are. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're evil deep down. It just means that they've been brainwashed, to be on team Trump. And
it is a cult.
It's like a cult. So they're not seeing everything.
Yeah.
And they might not necessarily believe it, but when it comes from you, maybe they will. Maybe you're the voice that they trust.
And you're right about they don't like it. And it maybe at some point they get to the place where they say, well, even if this isn't your fault, we all know it's Trump's fault. But even if they're like not willing to admit that and concede that, there's still okay, well, what are you doing about this? Because like we can't be watching children die like that, right? Like there's okay, but, and I feel like that's where we're at right now, is we're sort of moving into that, like, okay, maybe this is Biden's, but like, what are you going to do about it? Like, right? Okay, maybe that, and we all know, again, it's not Biden's fault that stage 4 children are dying with cancer that you have separated from their parent. Like that's not Biden, but hey, what are you going to do about it, Donald Trump and team?
I am far from convinced that what they are doing to immigrant children is going to make any difference with the Republicans. And I can obviously cite evidence that we all know too well, which is he did the exact same thing in his first term and people reelected him.
I think what we really need to be talking about are not the Republicans, because if you're still a Republican at this point, I got nothing for you. What we need to be talking about are Democrats who voted for Trump. Let me just give him a chance because of this, that, and the other thing. That's what we need, or people that stayed home. Those are the people that need to get their asses back in gear. Those are the people that are like seeing the light probably at this point. Not your MAGA. We're never winning MAGA.
But it is making a difference amongst Latinos who voted Republican and who considered themselves MAGA. It is making a difference because they're seeing friends and family. They're seeing their people being targeted.
Yeah.
And by the way, on that note, here's a stat. I meant to send you this and I forgot. My bad. New reporting reveals 90% of all ICE detentions were illegal. 90% is wild. Like you cannot undersell that. Like that's insane. Anyway, so 90%.
Right, I need everybody to look at this map. Oh, where'd it go? There we go. This map, when I saw it, I was just floored. So these are the states that gerrymandered, right? Or redistricted. So you have California, who put it to the voters. You have Virginia, who put it to the voters, and meanwhile, the fucking Virginia Supreme Court we'll talk about that in a sec. Then you have Utah, who their legislator or whatever tossed this to Dems in theory, and you have all this red. Do we know if any of these states put it to the voters? Because I don't think any of them did.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
don't think so.
That's the whole point. They didn't have the independent commissions set up.
So it's very easy to do it in a red state. Blue states, we have laws and we have independent commissions. So we do need. There was some talk, and I haven't heard about lately, after Virginia was overturned, there was some talk about, okay, California, take the other 2 red seats, to go back and do more. I haven't heard about that lately, but I do think we need to get brutal here. I don't know what it will take. There's also been some talk about just going forward with the new maps in Virginia. And here's the other thing. With all these things that have been gerrymandered, especially the ones within the past 2 weeks, people don't know what district they're running in. If it's tied up in the courts, if it's tied, you're really fucking up elections. And, I don't really have content on Louisiana tonight, but to me, they're the most brazen because they stopped an election that was already in process. So all
about
of this,
40,000 people that voted.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that matters if you're in Virginia, but it doesn't matter if you're in Louisiana. Just so you know, if people have already started voting, that's just so you know.
Well, to be fair, so to speak, state laws are what governs each election. The federal government doesn't really control it. And each state has a different set of laws and a different way that they look at these things. Now, there's a lot of issues with what happened in Virginia, regardless of that. But that's why it could be different in Louisiana and Texas and California. Florida, by the way, Chris, you were talking about
their constitution, what they did.
Correct. Exactly. They specifically passed a constitutional amendment that says that they cannot engage in partisan gerrymandering. And that's what they did anyway.
I would like to invite everyone who is in the state of Virginia to contact your state legislature and the governor's office, because they absolutely have all just sort of rolled over and did so immediately. And so listen, I'm not suggesting that there aren't backroom discussions happening, but I'm not there, so I'm not privy to them. And I don't think we should just hope that they are. So I think that if you are in the state of Virginia or you have family in the state of Virginia, that you should be contacting those people and letting them know that you want them to do whatever is necessary to protect your vote that occurred. And I personally read the decision and disagree with the interpretation. I'm allowed to do that. I think that they are trying to call it an indirect safeguard, but I don't think that was actually the indirect safeguard. I think the fact that a governing body that's separate of the people and the passions of the people was the indirect safeguard, and that the election preserved that indirect safeguard, regardless of how they voted on that particular thing. But the court feels differently because it suits them, because it suited Republicans. And so that's how they ruled. And it was this technicality. And people keep saying, oh, well, the Democrats should have known. I disagree. And I think we should push back on that I think you need to push back publicly. That's part of the problem, because Republicans do this all the time. They come to the law and the interpretation. And Adam can discuss however he wants to see this. But I really do think that the Republicans skirt law all the time, but the people get behind them and support them, and they're like, no, this is how it should be. The Democrats just sort of go, oh, well, if you say so, I guess. And we need to stop doing that. We need to say, you're a human just like me, and your reasoning can be flawed. Your interpretation can be flawed. It can be biased, and it can be to favor your party, which is very clear in Virginia. We have very clear partisan politics in terms of our judges. They've run as Republican. There's no secrets about what their party affiliation is here. So I just personally think, as Chris said, it's time to be ruthless. And I think it's time to stop acting like we all have to be constitutional law scholars. F that, read the case for yourself. They lay out the facts. It's there for you to decide. And you can call up the office and say, hey, I don't like this. I don't agree with it. And I think they threw out my vote. I want you to do something about it.
And in the vein of being ruthless, I say, You don't have to live in Virginia. Just pretend like you live in Virginia.
Right.
Just
Yeah, do
look
that.
up an address and call a Virginian legislature and say, I'm Mary Smith and I'm from Virginia. Do it. I mean, we do have to be ruthless. We are talking about our voting rights. We're talking
The
about
Republicans are doing that. They're doing what she's saying.
Didn't Josh Hawley do that when he got elected senator? Was he
He's
living
still
in
doing
Virginia?
that. Listen, all of them are doing that. I just talked about Cameron Sexton doesn't live where he represents. They all do that. They all buy $1 million homes in liberal areas, and then they pretend to represent rural districts and their needs. It's all lies. Their whole party is just smoke and mirrors, and not even good ones. And so, yeah, like at this point, they've intentionally overturned Virginia's and they're calling it a technicality, and they're pushing all of the blame onto the Democrats instead of saying, hey, look, election day is the deadline. And that's why you have to be a certain age before you can run for office. And they made the case of why that contextually doesn't make sense. And again, I just think it's like they just threw stuff down on paper and we're like, well, we think this makes sense, so you should too. It's like the dress. Remember that dress that everybody lied? Like everybody was all up in arms because they couldn't decide if it was blue and black or gold and white, and everybody was unified on one side of that. That's like what this is. The judges are like, it's a blue and black dress. And then everybody else is like, well, we think it's white and gold, or whatever the more popular one was. Okay. And that's what it is at this point. I really feel like it's less about what is actually there and more about what is suiting their political needs, which is gross. And that's why you should push back on it.
And this is such an emergency that you should be organizing your groups of friends to be making these calls. I mean, it is such an emergency to save our democracy. Everybody should be up in arms, and everybody should be fighting for this left and right. Wherever there's a Democratic race, be on it. Wherever there's an opportunity to register voters, be on it. Wherever there's a chance to call your legislature, do it. Because we are in the state of an emergency. Our democracy is hanging by a thread.
It's the level 10 problem. We have been at a level 10 for so long that everyone's having a hard time massing. They can't maintain their nervous system. Like their adrenals are shot. Like everybody's struggling. But I need you all to rally, because when we tell, I know we're sitting here acting calm and it seems not congruent with how difficult and problematic this is. That's also part of it. Is I'm not like a Republican screaming at you. Because again, I'm tired, but this really is, we are at that point where at some point, there's going to be we are going to go too far, and then you're not going to have the choice, right? This is the problem. When is that? I don't know, but it could be the next time. Really, it could be.
Deporting U.S. citizens. You could be next. I could be next. We could be next. They're deporting U.S. citizens. They could be deporting us, detaining us, putting us in concentration camps. It's like this close, guys.
I'm only calm because I'm in New York and it's 11:30 at night and I'm tired as hell. But I think that this live stream is about to really go and skyrocket because I got to head out.
Oh no!
Love you guys.
All right, appreciate you.
Bye.
With my bullshit.
We scared him away. We scared him away with the redistricting.
What's happening here with the Virginia Democrats? This sounds like, why are we asking this question? Like we're asking the U.S. Supreme Court.
Well, and that's so I agree with this on the basis that I feel like anything you can do at this point to muck up the courts, to take time, to resist is good. But what it needs to combine with is the messaging that you have to prepare people for. Because I think a lot of the times Democrats will do things like this and then it doesn't work and people are frustrated.
Yeah, because I've heard shit about this since they did it. You know what I mean?
They're angst-ridden.
Nothing's happening.
Well, and also they misspelled the word Virginia in the first one. That wasn't great. It didn't look great. To be honest.
Well, and you're going back to the Supreme Court where Samuel Alito used bad data. So fill us in on that. What exactly happened here?
Okay, there's ways to collect information when you are evaluating or you're taking polls. If you are in a political science program, you would take a quantitative analysis class and you would learn how to conduct polls. And epidemiology, people who get masters of public health know this kind of, it's anybody that's in science that's dealing with surveys and things. You have to be able to take the data and know that when you extrapolate that, it represents the actual realities. Okay, so what the Department of Justice did was that they did a study and they were looking at Louisiana. And so they took the total voting population over the age of 18 for racial groups. And they looked at the percentages, the proportionate, like the percentages to that proportion, right? Like, so how many voters showed up to the polls from this particular group, like of black voters over the age of 18 that were able to vote, that would qualify, that would qualify by age, okay, by the fact that they are 18 and they could, whatever. The numbers of people, basically, the total numbers of people that were black, and then they looked at how many people showed up and they calculated that percentage, right? And they did that for all the racial groups. But the problem is that you're including people who aren't citizens in that. You're including people who had been maybe incarcerated and didn't have rights as felons to vote. You're including people who are mentally incapacitated that also like wouldn't maybe have rights, like wouldn't be qualified to vote, I should say. And so all of those numbers, when you include them in the total population, skew the data. And it looks different than if you pulled them out first and you looked at who are the eligible voters over the age of 18 in the group of Black Americans and how many of those people showed up to vote. When you do it that way, it shows that there is still an absence of Black voters, that they do not eclipse white voters, that Black voters are not showing up to vote in elections more than white people. But when you do it the way the Department of Justice did, where you include the whole population and you manipulate the numbers, you know this if you're like a statistician or you're anybody that's doing this, you absolutely know this. And that's what Michael McDonald, who's a political scientist at University of Florida, said in the Guardian article. They quoted him and he said, if I were going to manipulate the numbers in favor of what the government wanted to show here, this is how I would do it. I would do it exactly the way that they did it. So the Department of Justice knew that. Does Samuel Alito know that? Probably. Yeah. Like he's smart enough. He should know that. But I think either way, the takeaway here is twofold. Number one, this government is going to put out lies. You cannot trust anything that's coming out of this administration. You can't, it doesn't matter how nice people are. Like, even if there's Democrats that are still there, that are maybe tenured, that are the evergreen people that stay through, at this point, whatever's being released has been touched by the Trump administration and maybe manipulated. And so you can't use them as experts anymore. That's just not, the government can't be trusted. But then twofold, that they used this intentionally to overturn legislation that was made in the civil rights era. People died for this, and they overturned it on fake data that's not real, that's not representative. So the whole thing is a sham, and there's nothing there's no recourse, because when the framers set this whole thing in motion, by the way, they didn't have this kind of authority. Like, check in Marbury versus Madison. They gave it to themselves. But then too, they really esteemed the courts at this higher level that didn't have bias, that wouldn't be partisan, that were somehow like in love with the U.S. and the democratic system, the constitutional republic, that they would every single time make the right call. Alito is so bought by Leonard Leo, and so is Clarence Thomas. And if you look at the mifepristone ruling from today, like this is just adjacently connected, they are the people that are reaming out. They are losing it on dissent. Like you can see that they have been told how to vote at this point. Like, I think that Alito's also probably a raging racist, so this just happens to like go along with it, right? Like he's probably like, he'll do it for free, but he'll take the money too. But just so you know, like, I really think at this point, Clarence Thomas and Alito are consistently the ones that have been like bought beyond a shadow of a doubt. But I would throw Brett Kavanaugh in there too. Like, but he seems to sometimes he'll go back and forth. Gorsuch is the other one, by the way. If y'all felt so inclined to ever push on somebody, Gorsuch is the one that I would push on publicly. Same with maybe Amy Coney Barrett, because they can sometimes like be on this side of reason. But anyway, for this particular thing, there's no recourse. What's done is done. They've done it unless Congress were to come in and create some sort of like, like do something with the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, which I don't think is enough now. Like I think they're
it should.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Priority if you're running, you should be talking about that. So speaking of racist though, let's play this little video clip this audio clip from Jen Higgins.
Jeffries wants to be involved in Virginia politics, then I suggest he does what a bunch of New Yorkers are doing. Leave New York, move down here to Virginia, run for office down here. You can represent us. If not, get your cotton picking hands off of Virginia.
That's right. Ditto. Yes to that.
That's right. Ditto. Yes to that. Like she agreed, then she agreed again. And she cannot say, oh, she was not on board with that. This woman needs to not win her election. And everybody should be, this is something we can do. We can help her opponent. We can put her on blast. A lot of us did that this week. And some bullshit about, the GOP wants them to erase the audio. It's too late. It's on social.
Yeah, and you can miss me with the justification that she was nervous because like she said yes too many times. Like that's not somebody that just agreed to it because she was nervous. Like that's someone who believed what he was saying. Like let's not, like I'm tired of the infantilization that happens with Republicans. Like they can't somehow be adults and like think for themselves. This is a choice.
And she championed a bill to like basically ban Black history discussions in school. So, when that whole CRT...
it's Virginia Beach, like where she is, like, no offense, y'all, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, there's a whole area over there, like, it's like right in line with how they feel, like, but not all of her constituents, right? So just to be fair, there were plenty of people that were like trying to call her. The problem is she's never in her office. Like, it's like a running joke that she's never there. I didn't know that or had forgotten or whatever. And so when I said something about being outside of her office, they're like, she's never there. And I was like, oh, like, so even more reason, like she's never in her office. She's always just probably going to like fundraising events for herself.
When have any Republicans stood up, standed out, spoke out against racism? They're not doing it. They're not speaking out against racism. Not one elected Republican has gone and tried to do any oversight in any of the detention centers.
And how about
time and time again, Trump will call people animals, say that they're vermin, call Democrats, and no one condemns it. Not one of them. So as far as I'm concerned,
they don't apologize. Like she could have come back. Not that I would have forgiven her, but she could have come back and said, you know what, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have agreed. But she's denying she agreed, which is like
there's going to be something that comes out at some point. I hope it's in our lifetime. But there is going to be some sort of internal memo, documentation, something. I know this is true. And it's like they have wink, wink, nodded to each other and said, under no circumstances do you acknowledge racism. Do you apologize for it? Do you like none of that? Because they know that there is a huge bulk of their, I don't know how much, but there is a bulk of their base that either is blatantly racist and like all on board for that, or like they're not ready to have the deconstruction conversations and the accountability that's necessary. And they know, the Republicans know that it would be a turnoff. And so they know they would lose votes. And so they're like, everybody just chill. It'll go away. Like, ignore it. I know they're doing that. I have no doubts.
It was
they're
just
unified.
A few months ago that right here on our show, we talked about Trump sharing the video of the Obamas.
Mm-hmm.
Monkeys. Yep.
Racism
is all over the Republican Party. It's just not, it's not like I've said this many times, like I will never claim a bigot as my president. So y'all can have a mission. Like
that's the problem with the Alito ruling, that he said that racism wasn't a modern problem and then used fake data to claim that, is that we see every day that the Republicans themselves prove that it's a modern day problem.
And I don't know if it was in that Guardian article, but it was the percentage of Black participation in voting has dropped precipitously since Shelby County versus Holder. that as the second that was decided, and that was what essentially eliminated pre-clearance of voting changes in the Confederate States, for lack of a better term, the voting laws that kicked in, the ID laws and such as that, kicked in right away, and you could see the decline happen right away, that they were just surgical in trying to keep Black people from voting. And
This is a choice. Yes.
So the idea that in Louisiana versus Kelly that you would not know that taking away parts of the Voting Rights Act would have a negative outcome is ludicrous, because you took away part of the Voting Rights Act, and we have the data of the last 14 years to say we know what it did.
That's a really good point. That's
I
a really
mean,
good point.
they're purging voting rolls, and they go into areas, they go into communities where they know that a lot of African American people live, and they're people who make it their hobby to go and send postcards, and if someone doesn't respond to that postcard, they take their name off of the voter rolls, and then it's too late when they get to the poll, the voting poll, to vote, and they're like, and that's
because remember, most of these red states and places, they don't have same day voter registration, or their cutoff is like 30 days ahead of the actual election, so it's even harder.
And they move the dates around.
And they move the dates around, and they hire fancy lawyers that cost gazillions of dollars, and they go in and they look at these very old and very unused statutes that exist in these places, and they manipulate them and they weaponize the laws against the people. So even if they're not violating the actual laws, they are violating the essence and spirit of what the people who made those laws intended, of what the framers and founders intended, of what the people of this country intend. They are intentionally trying to get less Black and brown people voting at the polls. They are doing it on purpose. They are trying to cut back advantages that Democrats might have. They're redistricting. That's why as soon as Alito made that decision, every single Southern state was like, move out of my way. I'm going to go redistrict and get rid of Black majority districts. They wanted to do this. This isn't accidental. I need everybody. I know it's hard.
We should not be remiss in pointing out that this was all in Project 2025. I posted this earlier this week. This was an article from 2024. Project 2025 proposes policy changes to limit the political participation of Black and other marginalized communities, which will significantly discourage both census participation and voter engagement, to Chris's point. So it's not, it's not new. This is not a surprise.
It's not only
the surprise is that it happened quickly. And we know the Supreme Court has been a friend to the Trump administration.
That's what I need everybody to understand. I need you to know that this predates Project 2025. This was their plan. This has been their plan for a long time. That also they are all talking to each other. I don't know how, because I'm not there, but 100% these states, these governors had been these legislatures they'd been talked to. They knew what was going to happen. They were ready to do it. Somebody somewhere, right? Maybe not everybody, but the people who know, the people in power, there is a whole line of people that are on the same page with this, that are communicating, and they are either participating willfully or they are looking the other way. But everybody in the Republican Party right now is all on this page. This is a part of their agenda, and how it's been sold to them and packaged to them, I don't know. I don't know what behind the scenes they've told people. I'm just telling you that 100% they are communicating with Alito and Clarence Thomas and Brett Kavanaugh. They're talking to all of those people, and then they're reporting back to these states and telling them what's going to happen and get ready because we're going to do this. And this is the plan. This is organized. This is collusion. And at some point, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, some point down the road, we're going to look back on this and they're going to see how treacherous it really was, how intentionally racist it was, and how everybody in this party either contributed directly or just stood around and let it happen. And it's going to be one of the greatest injustices and scandals of this entire country's history. And that's saying quite a fucking bit if you know about this history of this country.
To your point about it being in 2025, We all remember Donald Trump coming out and saying, after this time, you don't have to vote again. We'll fix it. They already fix it every time by making lines longer in inner cities, by making it changing voting locations at the last minute, by
calling in bomb threats. That's happening.
By putting
election
equipment
integrity
that's malfunctioning in areas where you have more minorities and marginalized communities. They already are doing this, but they had this planned from way back in 2024 when
and
they
not
put
only
this
that,
plan in.
the way that you know that they planned it is because they prepared their voter base for it. So the people who are in their corner, every Republican is in there saying, well, they care about and preserving the election integrity. They care about making sure that everybody who votes is qualified. They care. And they framed it as them being the police, them being the architects of free and fair elections, even though they went and tried to overrun an election in January 6th, even though they tried to, literally, there was an insurrection that they engaged upon the Capitol, right? Like they've prepared their voter base with all of their messaging that this is what they're doing. So this is like, they are communicating amongst each other and with their people so that they can have that they have this support that the Democrats don't ever have. The Democrats never have this kind of support to launch any kind of initiative this way. And that's part of the reason, not the only reason, but that's one of the reasons, is because of the fact that Republicans are so forward thinking in their treachery and villainy, because I'm going to call it that now, that because it's not a strategy anymore. Now it's like treachery and villainy, like that you got to say it like that. They are planning ahead and communicating with people in advance so that they have that buy-in and protection from people. Because now what's happening is they are having kitchen table discussions with people about this kind of thing because they're prepared and empowered to do it. And the people who are maybe moderate or apolitical voters are backing up and being like, oh, well, I don't know how to respond to that because that sounds right. Because I don't want people who aren't qualified to vote. I don't want somebody voting 3 times. I don't want, and they don't realize that this is all manufactured, that this is all made up so that they can try to prevent Black and brown people from voting. People don't know. They're not curious, as Chris was saying earlier. They don't care to find out.
So last week we talked about Tennessee a decent amount, and we had some videos. Tonight, no videos, but there's some images I think we should reflect on. But this first news, Memphis voters file federal lawsuit against new congressional maps, claiming discrimination. So they're basically suing about what it really is. It's discrimination, white control.
They're using the law.
Everybody knows there was a predominantly Black district. Tennessee came and split it into 3. And I said this last week, and one of them is the historic origin of the KKK. So that's complete irony. So good on them. There's some really iconic images that came from Tennessee. This was one of them. This is just
so good.
He's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's just brilliant. This is another one. This is very, you could put these images in black and white and they're going to look like they were in the 60s, the civil rights movement. This one for sure is really like moving to me. And then this, someone made this graphic. I shared it as well. But this is like, for me, I just posted and said, a lot has happened, but not much has changed. Here is Martin Luther King being arrested. And here is Justin Jones. He's not being arrested. He's being escorted out, forcibly removed.
I'm going to need everybody who acts like they care about finances to get in here right now and justify why there's 8 million state troopers or whoever those people are that we're paying, that taxpayers, somebody's in the state of Tennessee is paying for them all to be there unnecessarily because nobody's there with pitchforks and guns and whatever. Look at how many people deep. You can see all the hats. It struck me how many people were there. And in the first image, there's 2 people escorting a person, escorting him. Now how many, 12. I don't know. There's way too many people. It's absurd the amount of like performative politics that Republicans bring to this to try to demonize Black people and make them look like they are these, you know, outrageously violent. Because this is what people see, right? Like they then see images. They're not there. So they're seeing what Republicans want you to see, and they've orchestrated it so that, again, it looks like, what does it look like? It looks like they're the criminals, that they're the villains, that they're not the party of law and order, that here we are trying to like keep democracy going, and look at the Democrats ruin it, like Black Democrats, right? That's by design. So and they're using money that you pay for it. So like you should be outraged because this is happening at state levels, at local levels, and at the federal level, all the way. The grift is happening everywhere. I don't know. Chris was making a face. No, other Chris Q. You made a face, so I was like, wait, no. Do you disagree with that?
No, it was something else. I got a violation for misinformation.
Oh, God. What? That's my fault. My bad. I said something that triggered the racist.
Trying to be
a non-appealable flag.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
Chris is talking about
guys,
TikTok. He's simulcasting on TikTok.
That's okay.
This is what happens when you trigger the fragile racists. They don't like it. They come to
do
your
not
page
like
and
it.
they get mad.
So
they don't like all of a sudden there's no free speech. They're gonna come for you. Like, right? They're the first people that are complaining about canceling people, but they're also the first ones to report your video and try to get it taken down. So anyway, the irony and hypocrisy of that.
So something good. South Carolina's, rejected the gerrymandering. I don't think this was done out of the goodness of their heart, but at least Jim Clyburn gets to keep his seat. I think this was done because they looked at the map and they realized they are going to put more Republicans in jeopardy.
They did this for the same reason that Florida kept the 2 districts, that they did the math and figured out that if they broke it up, they would have more. It would be more likely that they would dummy-mander than gerrymander.
It was at risk. Yeah. They
also, 100%. McMaster called them back. That was what I sent you.
So
earlier.
It may happen, you're saying?
Yeah. So he's calling a special session for redistricting. And that's specifically to go after this district.
So here's a question, and I think this is important. When they're gerrymandering this close, or they're remapping this close to an actual election, is it possible to even go into effect for midterms? Or are we talking about 2028?
Who are we asking?
I don't know.
State
I'm
court?
just saying, like,
are we asking SCOTUS? Who are we asking?
Election, it should be for not this election. It shouldn't be for 2026.
Well, they think it will be. They think it. They're trying to make it for midterms. And this is the problem that I have with this also. I would like to point out that the Senate did make that choice. Like, the Senate made the choice, and it was convincing. It was 29-17, I think. 27-19. Somebody, I might have transposed those numbers, but that's like a big enough separation that it wasn't by 1 or 2 votes, right? And so, like you said, that was because that was a choice. But now the governor's calling them all back in and basically pressuring them to redo it. And that's like the least democratic thing. Like, again, this is like the party that claims they don't like regulation, the party that claims they want states' rights, the party that, lies, because what is this right now? Like, it's challenging all of that.
There has to be more of an uproar about this. What is happening is incredibly outrageous. It is so amazing that every single leader, every single Democrat, every single leader in the state legislature and the local legislature that cares about democracy and cares about civil rights and equality need to be shouting from the rooftop. We need to be having marches about this. This is outrageous. People died for the right to vote. People died for the right to vote. And now they are just turning this around, and people are just going, meh. And there are Democrats that care and talk about it, but not enough. Not enough.
They've done this intentionally on purpose because they waited, and they waited to see if they needed to do that. I mean, they were working towards this, but they also waited and realized and read the room and were like, we're going to be in trouble if we don't do this, right? Like, there's no way before, they're pushing it before midterms because they've done the assessment and they know. They've watched enough districts flip. They know that. But they also know that everybody is exhausted. And they know that if they had tried to do this at the start of his term, when everybody was fired up and like, you know, working so hard, like to this degree, they wouldn't have been able maybe to achieve as much, or people would have been more outraged. There would have been more pushback, whatever. They know that at this point, everybody is overwhelmed. Everything's happening with Iran right now, and people have their eyes on that. Like now we have the hantavirus on the right. Like there's a lot going on for people. They're struggling to pay their bills. And now you've got this, and it's like, hey, can you also come hold space and power for this? And a lot of people don't have it. They don't have it left in the tank. And the Republicans knew this. They absolutely knew this. And that it may not have been their primary reasoning, but they knew that it would also benefit them because they would have that in their back pocket, the apathy and exhaustion.
That's kind of an excuse, because Republicans always have a little bit left in their tank, no matter what. I feel like there's just not enough inspiration. There's just not enough people that are saying the words to get people off their asses.
But Republicans are also on the same page on this shit. Like Democrats, we all are like, no, you're too far left. You're too, you know, like we're so into purity tests and all this other shit that we can't see the forest for the trees. And I think it's a good time to bring up, we talk about civics a lot. You know, we were just talking about SCOTUS, but where this really starts is the makeup of the state legislators. Like the fact that there are these super majorities that, you know, I'm sorry, I take responsibility for this too as a Democrat for not messaging on this enough. We let this happen over decades. And we need to make sure people understand they have to pay attention to, in California, I mean, we have a Democratic, you know, makeup of the legislator. Okay, we've been doing our job, but I still don't know their names. I don't know who these people are.
I don't know all of them.
They're so important. So we know our U.S. senators' names. We know our representative. We don't know our legislators. We don't, and we need to support them. We need to make sure we elect Democrats. And I think people have woken up a little bit, but not enough. And I think Alabama is a good case study, because you mentioned, Milena, that people need to like respond. And I think Alabama is responding. We saw that they gerrymandered. So we showed last week the video where shady ass Republicans, you know, there was an alarm going off and they were supposed to vacate to the basement. Meanwhile, they put forward the gerrymandering decision without they voted on it. Their supermajority voted on it. Democrats didn't really have a say. It didn't really matter. And they're responding. Watch this video. This is kind of when this was going down. This is another video.
Y'all don't have to go nowhere. Have a seat. Have a seat. Y'all don't have to go nowhere. This is the people's house. Whose house? Our house. Whose house? Our house. Our house. Have a seat. Y'all don't have to go nowhere. Y'all have a right to be here. You have a right to see what's going on.
We're trying to throw out Democrats.
See what's going on.
And they're like, we're not leaving.
They want you to go to 200 so you can't see what's happening and they can't hear you. That's their way of shutting you up. Don't go nowhere. Have a seat.
This man is on the table.
Have a seat. Hell no. We ain't go. Hell no. Nowhere. Hell no. We won't go.
Thank you, bro.
We ain't going nowhere. Whose house? Whose house? Our house. Whose house? Our house. Whose house? If we don't get it, shut it down. That we shall overcome someday. I'm not letting her leave. I'm not letting her leave.
So we cannot be quiet. We cannot, we have to be loud. And that's what they did. And Tennessee did they were loud too. And this is what needs to happen when these things, not lecturing Virginia, but maybe they should have been loud.
Dude, lecture Virginia. Like, it's really embarrassing.
You're overturning an election is what they did. And people were like, wait, what's happening? So watch these black folks in the South and copy them, because this is going to keep fucking happening. Go ahead.
Also, I would like to say something that is controversial and that I will die on the hill 5 times. We're dealing with also an intelligence problem. And that's the whole truth of it. Like, as a whole, the average Republican does not have, like, you don't want to hear this, but it's the truth. The people who are out on the internet that are messaging all of this, they're either bots, and they're literally bot, or they're people who are so indoctrinated and do not have the critical thinking skills that are necessary to question back, to push back. And so you have to message to them differently. Like, it sucks because it's like you can bring them all the facts in the world, and that's not going to do it. And that's why we've gotten to this point, because I've seen it happen in my own life with people that are relatives that have low IQs, like straight up, and they target them. And they do that intentionally because they absolutely know that you will not be able to spot their bullshit. Like, that you can be conned, you can be manipulated. They have taken advantage of people, and they as the party of eugenics and the party that like 100% believes in extinguishing people that they don't feel have the same level of value as others. There's no doubt that they would do this. Like, it's very in line with their thinking and their ideology. And so this becomes a problem, though, because you cannot, it's more challenging now because there's all this media that wasn't accessible before that you feel like should be helpful and is for a lot of the voters, and maybe enough to get the Democrats to win. But the problem is now we need more than just winning. Like, we need like a mandate, a referendum, an overhaul. It's going to take us, as it is, like Chris has mentioned, like a lifetime to probably roll back a lot of this. But on top of that, now, like, you need the numbers to do that. Like, you need the numbers, and to have those numbers, we can't just court the apathetic and the moderates. Like, we're gonna have to dig into some people that have voted Republican. Like, we're gonna have to pull some people and or big masses of people that have stayed home for generations. Like, we're gonna have to pull in the non-voters. So this is gonna take a different kind of advocacy that we haven't really seen before, because yes, we always do get out the vote campaigns, but they're never super successful. Right? Like, they're never really like but like, it's sort of a combination of factors. But Milena's right. There's not really a voice right now that's inspiring people in a broad sense, that's unifying the Democratic Party. That is, like, for instance, messaging to Virginians, like the Democrats. Like, there was nobody calling the state legislature to say, hold on strong. Instead, they all just caved, which, by the way, I would like to point out, uncharacteristic, because they were the ones that pushed for 10-1. They were like hardcore all about it. They were in on that. And then as soon as the Supreme Court said this is the way it is, they said, well, we respect your decision. And that is the problem, is because people still believe that some people in this government that are Republicans are operating by legitimate standards. I need you to stop. I need you to stop. Like, I know it's hard, and it sounds like you're putting on a tinfoil hat, and it sounds like you're becoming one of them, but you're not. Like, it's so fair and valid to push back and say, at this point, I see that you're clearly on the side of racism. You're clearly on the side of a Republican Party that wants to dismantle democracy, and I'm not going to let you do that. So I'm going to push back, and everyone needs to be doing that.
Casey, can I just say something really quick, because I'm thinking about my career and my job. There are smart people and there are dumb people in every political party. Okay, I have to say that. That's not to say that Republicans
in the Republican Party, and I'm not speaking for you. I'm speaking for me.
They do target people that maybe aren't the deepest thinkers, but there are smart people and dumb people. And for the smart people that are in the Republican Party, and I know some very smart people who happen to be Republicans, they are then, what's their excuse for going with someone who's going to be corrupt and someone who's going to be putting people in concentration camps? What's the excuse? Maybe being hateful. So there are smart people and dumb people in every political party. There are good people and bad people in every political party. But right now, there are a lot of very bad Republican leaders doing very bad, not so nice, evil, and racist-y things. And it's time for everybody of good conscience and everyone who's got half a brain to stand up and say, no, this is not what America's about. America's about being accepting of people, being tolerant of people, being good to people, being just and with civil rights. And I'm not saying that that's our history, but I'm saying
I was going to say
be what we're about.
I like
should
that.
be what
That's
we're
nice.
about. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to say that.
That's a good point.
No,
It's valid.
So, we do call to action. We try to every week. And I just want to bring to everyone's attention a protest, a march, stand up for voting rights. All roads lead to the South is what this is about. And I had the pleasure of being on an organizing call last Sunday, hosted by Win with Black Men. So this is a group. It was about 300 people on the call. It was a kind of a last minute Zoom call, and they were talking about this rally, this protest that is happening this Saturday. So the day after tomorrow. It's mainly going to be in Montgomery and Selma. So I just want I want to tell everybody, go onto X or Blue Sky or Threads, whatever your social, TikTok, especially because you'll have the videos on there. Look for the videos, look for people posting, share them, do your own posts, get the word out. This is really important. I have a graphic here for y'all. So I actually have a graphic that I'm going to post right after this call, after this live on my socials. I'll pin it to my socials with this graphic as well. If you guys want to save it, spread it around, do whatever, but support this mission. So Selma's 9 a.m. And it's they're going to march. Well, it says at the Edmund Pettus Bridge. I don't know that they were marching. That wasn't clear to me on the call. And then in Montgomery, 1 to 5, and this is local time. So just Saturday, be on social. Support this thing. And I'm gonna, you know what? I don't know if this will work. I don't know if I can put it in the chat. I'm gonna put a link in the chat. I'm gonna try that has a database where you can check. So their thing is, let's see if this worked. Yeah, there it is. If you guys want to grab it or click on it, and I'll put this will be in my pin as well in the thread. You'll get the link. You can check for in your area. Now, last I checked, there weren't a lot of dots on the map. This was not a West Coast thing yet. Like there's East. I think there's one in Illinois. They're just kind of like, it's not like no Kings.
I didn't see one in DC. So I'm going to check back and see, but I couldn't, I saw one.
I think this is still like populating. Like part of the thing is if you want to host a rally, you can register, that kind of thing.
But I saw a lot of No Kings crossover. So maybe also go check
No
with
Kings
your
organizers are supporting this. The thing is, how long in advance did they organize No Kings rallies? You know what I mean? This literally has been within 7 days.
But also everybody has their signs ready to go. You can just
I'm just
show
saying, as far
up.
as there being a lot of locations, the central ground is Selma and Montgomery in Alabama. They are responding to what just happened to them. They are responding to their supermajority legislator of Republicans who are trying to gerrymander Black representatives. They're trying to make it so that there's no Black representation in Alabama. This is 100% a racist act.
Promote the shit out of this, everyone. Just promote.
That's the
heck
thing.
out of it,
Even if you can't go, actually, sometimes there is something to be said about fewer quantities that are quality, that are getting eyes on them. And so, making these a priority, especially because it's relevant. It's there's a through line there that's very obvious, and it's a very clear response that's necessary. So if we can all share this out, I think it would be really impactful and necessary. And also just talk to everybody. And this is what I said in the video I made, and I will keep saying this. If you wake up in the morning, maybe just try to see something. I know it's hard to look at headlines, but I need you to do that. And I need you to find something that matters to you, and you don't have to know everything about it. You just have to know something. And then when you talk to somebody's checking you out at the grocery store and they're like, how's your day? You're like, I'm pretty upset because I saw South Carolina voted to keep their maps and their governor's like, no, you guys got to get rid of the one Black majority district. And that sucks. I don't like that. Doesn't seem fair to me. I'm upset. Just that. And I know it's a bummer, But like, we need to be having those conversations. It's not a fun time. Like, and the sooner we do this, the sooner we can get out of it and have the fun conversations. Right now, we have to be pointing to it. A lot of people, like Milena said at the beginning, are not maybe aware of some of this. And so it's incumbent upon you to bring it to them. Like, people shouldn't be able to look away from this. Like, I don't care if that's an unpopular opinion. Like, you don't get to not care about other people's human rights being taken away. Like, you don't get to not care about that. Like, it's a social contract theory thing. Like, if you're sitting here getting the benefit of our society and our protections, then you better damn well stand up for other people's. And so that's what has to happen now is like, I don't care if you don't want to think about this. You don't get that right anymore. You have to think about this. So pick something. Would love it if it has to do with this, but whatever is working for you that you feel like you could communicate. And I mean, like, anybody that asks, how is your day? Be honest. Be like, I'm tired because I'm having to learn about all this fuckery that I don't want to know about. Like, just be honest. Like, you don't need to be a scholar. You just need to be a real human that's affected by this. And that's actually the most impactful. Don't let people get away with saying, I don't do politics, babe. It's going to do you. It's going to do all of us. Like, you don't have that option at this point. You can't tune out. I'm not going to let you. So I guess, like, just get my information and message me. Like, I'll start talking to strangers like that, I guess, like, whatever. Like, there's a girl called Lime Accordion. We're mutuals now. She's calling everybody. I've done this before too. It's time consuming, but it's wonderful. And she's contacting them and recording her calls. And she's confronting all of these people on the Republican Party with their hypocrisies specifically. So if you're interested in what that might look like, it's not just your, hi, I'm so-and-so calling. It's like, hey, why are you racist? Like, very specifically addressing the things. And it's like needed energy. So if you have that, like, if you have the time to go check out, she's on Instagram and TikTok and Threads. I'm probably on Twitter too. Like, just check and see Lime Accordion. She's doing those calls if you're needing some inspiration for how to actually communicate with your legislators. But as far as your family and friends, you don't need to, you just know what's right. You know what's right and what's wrong. And please just communicate that, especially this weekend, but even after this weekend going forward, make that a part of your daily routine. At least one person, just share it with one person. If everybody did that, it would be different.
And so I just pinned this graphic, same information that was on the vertical graphic, the white one we were showing. It's I pinned it on Blue Sky, X, and Threads. So I am the same handle on all three, CWeb Online, and it's pinned there. So use the graphic, spread it around. So this one's formatted for those platforms.
It's really good too. I like the graphic.
Thank you.
Wait, did you make it?
Yeah, just kept it simple.
No,
yeah, I didn't find what they honestly. Anyway, I'm not gonna.
I like that a lot. I said on my thing, I was like, oh, it makes my brain happy. Like, this one made my brain happy. So
it's nice.
So anyway, so yes, thank you. And I am looking forward to Saturday. I will be sharing whatever I see. I do have a friend down there in Alabama that I'm hoping. And one more thing. When these things happen, this extends from the shenanigans that Republicans are pulling in legislators to these marches, these rallies, to if we have bullshit at the polls, videotape it, photograph it, blast it on socials. The news media is not going to do this without us. We do it first, then they pick it up, and it spreads. This must not be done.
Okay, that needs to be said. Double what he's saying.
It is social media that has made ICE so toxic. It is not the regular mainstream media.
I know it's so hard for
to happen again.
If you are not chronically online, that is a difficult pill to swallow. But I need you to understand that there's a reason that they call them influencers, because they absolutely put stuff out and make it a priority. And eventually the mainstream media has no choice but to pick it up. And they start pulling it, 2-3 days later.
Right.
I so promise you that we've seen this for 100%. Years. Like, this is at least 5 years this has been going on, maybe longer at this point. So this is absolutely a common occurrence. And I would go even a step farther and say, like, look into becoming a poll watcher, a poll worker, look in, like, plug into your communities, like the iwillvote.com, like make sure that you like are volunteering to register people to vote. But I was talking to Chris earlier, like we need to find a way to mobilize the wine moms into a brigade of people wearing the same kind of shirts, showing up to counter the intimidation tactics of the Republican Party, because like, you know, white homegirls want a shirt. Like they'll do anything for a cropped hoodie. Like they'll show up. So, but I'm serious about this. Like someone needs to come up with a slogan and launch it, because I'm not popular enough to do it. Okay. I so promise you. But it needs to be somebody that's like likable, that launches this, and everybody can show up and be the counter to that. So this is where you get to like push back in a way that's like lawful, and is like, you get to be a hero. You get to know that in current times, this is how you would have acted during the civil rights era, is what you're doing now.
And if you happen to know any celebrities, get them on board, because they have been rather quiet, or even people who are athletes. We need voices and
companies too. Start tagging in these companies. If you see any company connected in any way, shape, or form, start tagging their social media, take pictures, record like Chris was saying, and pull them into the conversation. Nobody gets to be neutral anymore. This, like, nobody's Switzerland here, okay? Like, you don't get to do that at this point. You're picking a side. We're gonna make you. So like, make everybody accountable, and drag them for filth if they don't want to respond. Just keep tagging them. It works.
Places of worship too. Make sure that
you're 100%.
At this point, if they're not talking about this, you're maybe at the wrong,
That's right. That's right.
I'm gonna put this vertical option in the thread in case you want to take it to, TikTok or Instagram or wherever.
Yeah.
I don't have a big presence on there, but feel free, take it anyway.
That's
thanks
great.
everyone. And I can't wait to see everybody's videos being shared and all that stuff. And hopefully we have some, footage to show next Thursday. So everybody join us again next Thursday, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific, for more craziness that is sure to happen. So thanks everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.